Hi everyone, welcome to our Live a Dynamic Life video series. I'm your host Megan Sander and I'm here with the President of Dynamic Rehabilitation, Jeff Wayne.
Good to be here, Megan.
So Jeff, in some of your recent podcasts and blogs, you've talked about one of your favorite hobbies, which is mountain climbing. So let's take that a little bit further today and talk about some of the things that you do before, during, and after a climb to perform at your peak.
Well, before a climb, you literally just need to get in the best shape of your life. It's a lot of aerobic activity, a lot of hill climbing, a lot of quad work, hamstring work, calf work, things like that. And then from a weight point of view, everybody kind of has their fighting weight that they want to be at. There's a saying in climbing that ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain, which basically means the more weight you're bringing, the harder it's going to be later on. So you really want to be in the best shape that you can get in physically before a climb.
And you know firsthand because you just did something pretty awesome, didn't you?
Well, I've wanted to climb the tallest mountain in the United States. And I was able to do that in the last month and did it with some friends and climbed Mount Whitney in California. And Mount Whitney is a little over 14,500 feet. And we were on the mountains for 20 straight hours going up and down. So it was a much more difficult climb than I anticipated, but we successfully summited it and came down and then proceeded to pay for it for the next few days.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the equipment that you use to make sure that you are well prepared and that you're, that you make it.
Well, the equipment really varies based on what kind of climb you're going to do. For example, my most recent Mount Whitney climb was a day climb. We knew that we were going to get up and down in one day, so you don't want to bring a lot of weight.
In like a 24-hour day, right?
Like a long day.
Okay, very, very long day.
And so this was my day pack. And what's interesting about this is it is a very lightweight pack. It goes around the body. There are lots of nooks and crannies to stick everything from energy bars to iPods to food and water and extra layers of clothing. On this trip we carried about 20-pound packs.
Okay.
An overnight trip you're looking at 40 to 60-pound packs based on how many nights you're going to be out there. Probably the most important thing is water. And what's great about this little device is this slides right into the backpack. This particular one holds 2 liters of water. You can get them as big as 3 liters of water. And this hose comes over your shoulder and you actually bite and can suck on the end of this while you're walking. So you don't have to stop on the trail and take your pack off and go get your Gatorade or go get your bottle of water. You kind of eat and drink while you're walking to save time. There's no reason for those interruptions.
Okay. Very cool. And what about footwear? That's also very important for comfort and also just to prevent injury, right?
I would say the 2 most important things with climbing are water and your footwear.
Okay.
Because you can't really do any mountain climbing without both of those. If you don't have water, you're going to dehydrate and things go wrong. Same thing with your feet. If you don't have well-constructed boots that are lightweight on a day climb or more heavy-duty on an ice climb, it's like having the greatest car in the world. If something goes wrong with the tires, that car's really not going anywhere.
Right.
And so these particular boots are near and dear to my heart. They've been on the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro, and they've been on about 5 other high peaks. And these are lightweight day hiking boots. And so these are good probably to about 10 degrees above zero. And very comfortable, very well broken in.
Great.
These particular boots are much heavier. That's one other problem that you get with these heavy boots. These are about 4 pounds per foot.
Oh, wow.
So when you're going dozens of miles, carrying around an extra 4 pounds on each foot is a big deal. Here, go ahead and feel how heavy one of those are.
Yeah, that's a lot of weight to carry around.
And you can kind of tell it's a completely different construction. This boot is good till about 20 or 30 degrees below zero.
Okay. Is that why the extra weight? Because you need that protection from the elements?
That, and if you're climbing on more jagged rocks or ice, things like that. And
different kind of sole.
Very much firmer sole, and gives you a lot more support, and most importantly, a lot more warmth. You just really don't want the cold feet afterwards.
Okay. So during the climb, what do you do to keep your stamina up, but mostly to prevent injury?
Beforehand, aside from getting in the best shape that you can possibly get in, there's a lot of stretching that goes on. We're constantly making sure that everybody's doing well during a climb. Drinking water every 10 to 15 minutes is important. Putting fuel back into the body with the idea that you're putting a lot of protein, food that you like. You don't bring those healthy energy bars and stuff that tastes like
that
chalk.
tastes awful.
When you're at altitude, you pretty much don't have an appetite. So you want to, if you love Snicker bars or if you love fried chicken or pizza, you bring whatever you think you can eat at altitude, because you're really not going to have much
Just
of.
throw that KFC in your pack and you're good to go, right?
You bet.
Okay, so let's talk about recovery. So you come down off that mountain and you've got to be hurting, and you got to be hurting for a few days, I would imagine. I've never done it, but that's what I would assume.
You know, climbing is at least 50% mental, so you got to go into it with the idea that, you know what, I know today's going to be difficult, I know I'm going to hurt, I know it's going to be several hours of beating, and afterwards on some of my bigger climbs, it's pretty painful near the end. And with Mount Whitney most recently, I started having a lot of spasming in my legs and things like that, and so there are different steps that you can take on the mountain that will use different muscles in the legs. But afterwards, when you're back to your car, or you're back to camp, or you're back to your hotel, as the case might be, there's a lot of lactic acid that builds up in the legs that causes a lot of stiffness and soreness, and so you can't stretch enough. So I would recommend that people stretch a lot. They're taking ibuprofen. And one thing that some people might not think a lot about is taking an ice bath. You get into a bathtub, maybe up to your waist, as cold as you can possibly tolerate, and then have ice added to it.
So more torture.
More torture, but that maybe 15 or 20 minutes worth of torturous ice bath might save you 3 or 4 days of soreness and stiffness and pain in the legs.
Interesting. I've never heard of that. Well, Jeff, it is so exciting that you just accomplished that. You are definitely a good example of someone who is out there moving and living a dynamic life.
Thank you, Megan.